welcome to the Dear Poor People podcast, DPP for short. I am your host, Coach Mika, and I'm your coach, Mika, and I have over 14 years of experience working with the underserved, working in the industry of poverty. And, um, and yes, I did say industry, as the rich do make millions, if not billions, of dollars off the rich, aka the people not in a position of power and authority, um, every year. And so, what I want to do with you briefly is just to do a quick experiment. Everyone, close your eyes and pretend like you can peel off your skin. So, all we are is now sitting here in a bath of blood and muscle mass and veins with no skin color. Then I want you to grab your phone, and over your phone, I want you to say the following things. I have the answer to any problem I wish to solve in the palm of my hand. The second thing I want you to repeat is, I have a walking, talking library in the palm of my hands. The third thing I want you to say is, I am living in the equivalent of an open book exam, and I am not passing because I don't realize I have the answer key in the palm of my hands. The final thing I want you to say is, I don't know no longer exists. And that is the truth, as we are now in the age of artificial intelligence, and with the uh, advent of ChatGPT, Genesis, Perplexity AI, oh gosh, Will I Am has come out with his own GPT, and right now uh, it's not coming to the top of my mind what his is called. Um, there's even a black chat GPT. I haven't tried it yet, but there's numerous things. And of course, you still got the basic, which is Google. You can Google anything. And so with that, I wanted to make sure I caught everybody in the first month of the year, and hopefully before this new administration starts. I wanted to make sure everyone under the sound of my voice understands the new world that you live in now. You are now poor in a smart America. So if you're white in a smart America. If you're black in a smart America. And now that we are in a smart America with the answers in the palm of our hands, we are now poor in a smart America. And that is a separate identity from your race, your ethnicity, your age, your sexuality. All of those things are identities, okay? But one of the identities that we fail to identify as an identity is the identity of economic status. And so that is now, because we now have the answers to everything in the palm of our hands, that is now an identity. Okay, it is not an adjective anymore. Well, it's still technically an adjective, but I want you to start identifying it as an identity. Okay, it's just like saying you're black. Now we need to realize that we are black and poor, or you're a black person who happens to be poor, because that is a temporary state of being. It does not have to be your permanent state of being anymore, because there's 50 million ways to make a dollar. And I just wanted to make sure that people knew that. One of the things that you're going to notice over time is that because we are now living in a smart America, and you're going to hear me say that on loop all the time, it's probably going to wake you up in the middle of the night, hearing my voice say we're in a smart America. But in a smart America, actions will speak louder than words. Okay, and so with that, you now need to realize that your actions will tell somebody what you know. Okay, it won't be a measure of your intelligence, but it will give somebody an idea of what you know. Meaning that, say, for example, a few years ago, there was a young lady, a Caucasian young lady, just so that everybody knows, it's not just black people, but a Caucasian young lady. She was featured on, I think, CBS This Morning, and it was after the tornadoes hit Kentucky, and she was a young lady, probably in her 20s, late 30s, somewhere in there, late 20s, early 30s, and she had two special needs children. And she also lived with either her mom or her grandmother or something like that, and they lost everything. And granted, in the middle of a tornado, I don't expect you to actually realize these things. But now that I have worked with the underserved for as long as I have, I can hear, poverty, in how you communicate, like the words you use, how you express it, it will come out. And so what she said in that particular instance was that she could not take care of her children. Sorry, my battery was running low. But her and her children, basically they received SSI and those kinds of things. And so she didn't know how she was going to rebuild, but she was using a lot of language that was victim language, I guess is what I should say. And so she didn't know basically how everything was going to happen. And so basically, and this was like, gosh, what, 2020 or 2021? I'm not sure what year it was. But in 2020 and 2021, technically, she had numerous ways to make income. Like, for example, the sheer fact that she had two special needs children, she could have started a blog about being a parent of special needs children. During the time that they're napping, she could have gone live during those periods of time, because now every minute now counts. We're on a 24-hour clock. Please, that's one of the rules we now have to understand, okay, is that you want to maximize the time that you have in a day, okay? And sometimes it will be, now you're hearing the term passive income. You could be doing things while you're sleeping, or reaching out to somebody doesn't take but 2 seconds now, because you can text somebody, you can send an alert to your whole community that you've built online and things like that. So now technically, when she said what she said, it was with a limited mindset. And so that I want to make sure people know, it's 2025. You cannot have a limited mindset, because they will let you run with that. Okay? And then you will actually realize that there were 50 million ways you could have made $1, but the system isn't going to care that you didn't realize that. So this whole notion of, is there any humanity in this country? Unfortunately not in the way that we think it is. Okay, the people in positions of power and authority in this country actually think you are keeping up with every rule that has come out, and every change that has been made. They think you're keeping up with it. I know that you're not, because I work with you every day. And so somebody just needed to start saying that out loud. It's like being in a class and and you're completely lost in the class, and so you don't know what page the teacher is on, but you don't want to ask the teacher what page she's on. We're at that point in this country where we need to say, okay, what page are you on? So that we all know what page are we all on, and then those of us who need to catch up, can catch up. Now, you would think that that the country would recognize that, and want to make sure everybody's on the same page. But capitalism does not work in that way. Capitalism is our operating system, and capitalism is an unequal system. It is an unfair system. It thrives on unfairness and inequality and all of those kinds of things. But we're not at this particular point in our country's history. It does not make sense. And so I'm not going to even tell you that we're going to develop a new system. We all have to participate in this capitalistic system that exists. And right now is the prime opportunity to jump in, because now 50 million people will tell you how to make $1 on YouTube, on what used to be TikTok, and Instagram. All of these places will tell you, and unfortunately some people my age, I'm about to be 50 in like 2 weeks. A lot of us don't want to watch a video over and over again on loop to try to make sure we catch every step. We'd rather be in person. I mean, that's personally how I am. And I think some of us are going to get caught in that. We're going to have to buckle down and just say, hey, let me learn, okay? And those of you who are raising children, I really want to make sure you understand that your children do not have the same runway that you had, okay? You need to know that you are raising children that will never say, I don't know, okay? The minute that they walk out the door, I don't care whether that's a door to a trailer, a door to a house, a door to an apartment, the car door, if y'all are having, unfortunately, to live in your car, society, because it's 2025, society thinks that your child knows everything, okay? Meaning that they know that they're living in a smart America. So this whole notion that, like, for example, with I think it's Title I schools, maybe sometimes they don't have all the resources. Well, the world does not know you went to a Title I school. So when you walk out the door, they think you are equipped with everything that you had, okay, that everybody, quote unquote, has. And so we, the underserved, have to actually know that. You're walking in the door and they think you know everything or know how to fix anything, okay? And that is the whole notion. Marie Forleo wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable. And technically, now everything is figure outable. Just the other day, I think I saw a app called Tinker, where you can get online with a mechanic, and they will walk you through how to fix your car. Now, I think the issue with my current car, I think is a little bit too advanced for that particular app, but I would have loved to have attempted it. But fixing a whole engine in a Toyota, I don't think, I think they would probably tell me I would have to go to a mechanic in person. But just the whole notion that they're coming out with that is awesome. And we should be excited, okay? We should be excited for the world that our children are entering in and take full advantage of. We should be excited for our own selves. Those of us who are in a financial hole, we can get out of it. Start trying, start tinkering with some of these things that are online. I think everybody's a little suspicious. Sometimes that's what I think with the underserved, the individuals that I come in contact with. I think many of them, it hasn't even occurred to them, any of the things I'm saying, that this is an opportunity to turn over a whole new leaf. I don't think any of them really have processed that. I really think that they, and I hate that our society doesn't realize that there are people that are sincere in their lack of knowledge. I think I think our society really thinks everybody realizes everything and knows everything, but the reality is that 60% of the population is robbing Peter. What is it? Robbing Peter to pay Paul and hailing Mary by Sunday. When you have that much of a population, and black people only make up 13% of the population, so that is not just black people, that is a whole bunch of people who don't have a clue what's going on, okay? And I hate that people don't know. And so that's why I wanted to begin this channel and start getting the word out that you are in an awesome time to be alive. No matter who's in the White House, it is an awesome time to be alive, and that we can change things. We can change our financial situation. It is a temporary state of being, okay? And just to touch a little bit about race, because unfortunately race does come into play with poverty in this country. Capitalism, like I said, capitalism is an unfair system. And if we were a monolithic country, meaning that we were all just one race, everybody would know the things I'm sharing. Okay, I'm just going to tell it the way it needs to be told. It is if we were a monolithic country, we would all know this stuff because they would want everybody to win. In this country, we don't want everybody to win, so that is why we don't, like, nobody in, like, probably, I went to ChatGPT the other day and looked up how long the internet has been around. And the internet is probably at least 40 plus years old, okay? Now, all of that was not commercialized. Some of that was when the Army started it or whatever armed forces started the internet. But commercialization of the internet has been around probably 29 years, okay? So it has been around that long, okay? And so probably around like definitely by 2010, technically somebody could have made a, like, quote unquote made a state of technology. You know, like the president does the State of the Union, he could have done a state of the technology and just laid it out there and told everybody, like, hey, we've changed up the rules, da 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 da. But that did not happen, okay? But technically, that should have happened in probably around 2010 when people really started, you know, doing grocery shopping online, buying books online. They really could have started saying, hey, by the way, the rules have changed. This is what it is. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, because, and one of the things I will say about this past election, they did a doozy on the underserved or the working class, okay? They gave the working class, primarily white working class, an answer, okay? And that answer was crime, and which meant black people. And then they also said, immigration. Sorry, I couldn't think there for a minute. They also said immigration, okay? Unless those individuals crossing the border have IT degrees, you have nothing to fear from them, okay? We are now in a digital age now. We are in a smart America. We're not bringing manufacturing back, unfortunately, okay? And instead of them being man enough to say that, they gave you 50 million other excuses as to why, quote unquote, your life is not where it needs to be. Now, what they should have done with the underserved, and sorry, my nose is stuffed up. What they should have said is they should have come out with it and said, hey, manufacturing is not going to come back ever to the degree it was in the past, okay? NAFTA, all of those kinds of things play a part in it. Okay, trade, all of those kinds of things. So we're not going to be a robust manufacturing country anymore. Okay, that window has sailed. That ship has sailed. Now it is all about technology. We've now moved into this whole consumerism, where everybody and their mama is going to be the equivalent of an Avon sales lady, and so you're going to be selling something, And if I if I was smart, I would have had my book here in front of and ready at the moment, and I don't think I have it. I have to go upstairs to go get the book. But I wrote a book called We Overcame. Okay, and it talks about the impact of technology coupled with community, how the African American community could move forward. Okay, because we need to harness technology. Okay, and right some of the wrongs that have been happening in the past. Okay, we really could, if we harness technology, we could flip, and eliminate much of the unnecessary income inequality that exists. Because in all honesty, they know right now that they have already created many of the devices, many of the systems that could eliminate poverty. But have they said anything? No. They have not said it in a way that grabs our attention. I will say that. They have been, and this is the thing, people who are not, people who are in a position of power. That's how I'm going to call white people now. Is people who have systemically been in a position of power. PIP, the system S is going to be silent. So I'm just calling them the pips, because we really need to get away from the colors. Okay, the only color that matters now is green, and so we're pips and nips, people not in position of power or people in position of power, because that's really the identities that we need to be paying attention to now. This whole race stuff is toxic and it's not helpful. Okay, the way it's been used. I love being black. I don't want to be anything other than what I was born as, but the way we are talking about it right now doesn't do anybody, it doesn't do the underserved of any color the justice that we need. Okay, it's very deceiving. Okay, so I would prefer that we just stick with pips and nips. Okay, so the pips technically already have created the types of technology that could eliminate income inequality in this country. But are they talking about it? No. Can you imagine if Sam Altman was a black man? Sam Altman is the individual who founded OpenAI, which is the company for ChatGPT. If Sam Altman was black, he would have introduced the ChatGPT as solving poverty. Okay, because he's not black, he introduced it as, hey, this is this really innovative, I don't even know what you would call it's, excuse me, LLM stands for large learning model. I think that's what it stands for. And he, rolled it out with all the fanfare and stuff like that. Now, one thing that I have learned, because, like I said, I've been working with the underserved in various organizations in state government in South Carolina. I'm from South Carolina. I now realize that that we all have an identity of power or not power, and those in power have the ability to, or I guess I should say, let me back up, let me clean that up. The pips operate indirectly, so they don't say things directly. As an African American, as a black person, we like directness. We like you to say, hey, if that is a red apple, Like, we don't want this, you know, I don't even know how you would describe an apple vaguely, but that's what I have discovered is that individuals who are pips say things indirectly, and then they're like, oh, and by the way, these will be the added, as a result of using this, these will be, like, basically they treat poverty as the side effect impact of ChatGPT, when that should be the main thing you tell us about ChatGPT, is that it could help eliminate poverty. That's how Black people roll. Like, that's how we would like it to be. Like, I a few years ago, I tried to I participated in a couple of launch pitch events. Okay, that's where you pitch your idea to, you know, various judges, and typically it's judges who are like in business and things like that. And so you pitch your idea of your business idea, right? So my business idea was to quote unquote create an Uber for the underserved, meaning that it would pair individuals up like their neighbors. It would be like a community app where your people who do drive naturally could put their information in there, outline their morning commute and evening commute. And then the neighbors that were in that area that did not have transportation could have signed on and been matched with people that are close to them. And then we would look and find jobs that were along that natural commute. So, for example, if my neighbor didn't have a job or a ride, and I put my information in, they would see that I'm going to pass at least two Publix before I get to my job. I'll pass a couple of Dunkins, at least two Dunkins, several gas stations, an AutoZone, all of those kinds of places, and that person could then have applied at those jobs. And one of the ways that I saw this making income is that probably I could sell ads on it, or at least take payments from the companies that wish to place job postings on that app. Well, when I pitched the idea, people were like, "Oh, that's awesome, that's great," but they could not see where the money was going to be, and that was profound to me. Okay, because I went into it with, and I still go into it with the notion that my first thought was, I want to solve a problem, okay, which was helping people find employment. When a PIP hears that, they want to know, where is the money? Where is the money? Not the fact that it could, help unemployment and things like that. Okay, that's the side impact. Okay, but the main impact is, how much money is it going to bring to them? Okay, and I realized then, and I never want to go through a pitch event ever again, because it was disappointing, because I got that look that says, woo woo woo, that's so sweet, but you could tell they didn't take me seriously. They thought it was a great idea, but you get that, like, oh gosh, I don't even know how to describe it, but basically it irritated the mess out of me, that the idea of wanting to help people is not enough. Okay, and so I need everybody to understand, in this country, if you are poor, they think that you know how to get out of it. They think you realize you have, quote unquote, made all these financial bad decisions. They think you're very conscious of it. Most of us are not conscious of it. Most of us are not conscious, and this is irregardless of color, what part we played in getting ourselves in the mess that we're in. Okay, and I think ultimately with AI coming on board, it was very, very important that I go ahead and start this channel, because we actually need to build found some truth, so that you know what's real and what's not real. Because when AI really takes hold in the United States of America, we're not going to know what's real and what's not real. So we need to already be talking about solutions for poverty in this country, and actually letting everybody know what time it is, because they had no intentions of telling me that. They had no intentions. They are quote unquote comfortable with you struggling day to day, okay? Because they were not going to say it the way I just said it, okay? And I know I've gone all over the place with this video, but I just wanted to get a lot of that out of the system and get it out of my system and put it out there. So as this channel grows, the whole purpose is to start helping us change our mindsets, okay? I'm going to help you, those of you who are in who are living in a poor mindset. I'm going to help you understand the other side, because in all honesty, we're not playing on the same team. You need to know that, okay? This was a football team, and let me just throw out, when Seattle was good, back in the day, when it had beast mode, it had Russell Wilson, it had Richard Sherman on it. There was a game between Denver and Seattle, okay? And Seattle, what happened is that Denver at that particular point in time had this play. One of the, I think it was Peyton Manning was he was the quarterback for Denver at that time. And they had a play called Oklahoma, and he would call that out. I think it was Oklahoma. It was something with an O. And he would call that out. Well, what happened is that Seattle, that whole entire week of that game, the week prior, had been looking at their play, at Denver's play. I mean, their videos of how they play their game, and they noticed it. They figured out that particular play. Okay, they knew exactly what was going to happen when he called out Oklahoma, and they had an answer for him every single time. And so, needless to say, he didn't call out Oklahoma. I think they let him get away with saying it one time. They blocked him the whole entire time, and that was probably one of the lowest scoring games for Denver in terms of it was. I can remember vividly the after game, conference, and Peyton Manning was upset, and things like that. So it stood out to me. But that's the moment that we're in right now, is the rules have been published. We just need to read them. Now, unfortunately, some of them will be very disappointing to us, especially as people of color, in that racism is embedded in capitalism. Racism is a child of capitalism. Which means that in essence, racism will always be here. It will be here until the Lord calls us home. It will be rats, roaches, and racism, okay? So the idea of racism being the reason why you're not where you want to be is, we need to get out of that mindset. That can't be the reason. You have to see beyond that. You have to know that it exists, and now you have the ability to minimize the impact it will have on your life, okay? And and I know that that's hard to believe right now with the incoming administration, but it shouldn't be hard to see with this incoming administration, actually, as a matter of fact, because what that shows is the power of being white. And when you look at how he got elected, and let's go back to the fateful coming down the escalator and him saying those foul things about Mexicans, okay? If he had been any other color, the screen would have went black. Okay, the screen would have went fuzzy white, black and white, because that is not allowed. Okay, but for some odd reason, we don't police anybody that is white. Okay, white people don't get policed. Okay, they're and so had he been, like, say if this had been Obama coming down the escalator, okay, number one, Obama wouldn't have done it. Number one, let me just go ahead and put that out there. It would not even have occurred to him to say those kinds of things. But um, he wouldn't have been allowed to do it in his first term because he was untested. He was untried then. We had never had a black president. But technically, his second term, he could have come down the escalator like that. Like I said, he wouldn't have. But I guarantee you that the news media would have policed him and cut the TV off. Like the screen would have just went black. You know, they would have went to commercial. Okay, because that is not allowed. But he was allowed to do that, and he was allowed to do it for these 9 years so far, because the media wanted to make money. Okay, we are living in a country that puts profits over people. Okay, and the evidence is there. I don't like I love being in this country. I love my country. I love my country more now because I understand all of this. It's not, you know, I've just learned to accept it, and I now live from the identity of economic status. I don't make my decisions, or I try not to make my decisions anymore from any other identity. Do I have the money? Do I know how to make the money so that I can get what I want? Okay, that is the identity that you want to operate all decisions from. Do not do any other making decisions from any other identity. I promise you it will change your life. Once you realize that they have put profits over people, you will make different decisions, because you will know that there's not, that they haven't created any systems that will actually see your humanity. Okay, for example, right now our next crisis, I mean, after AI not, having a whole bunch of people not understand that they need to be participating in AI is the first crisis that we're about to face. Okay, where you're letting 60% of the population now realize that they need to be learning AI. Okay, that's number one. Number two is the Social Security crisis that will be on us in the years to come. Okay, everybody go to ssa.gov, put your social in, and see if you like the amount of the Social Security check that you will get when you are 67. And yes, they changed the Social Security age to 67. So if those of you who are still thinking you're going to get it when you're 65, 65 would still be saying you're doing it as an early withdrawal. 60, I think 62 is the earliest you can withdraw. That's taking early retirement. 62 to 65, 66 I should say, is early. 67 is full retirement. Okay, do you like that amount? Okay, that is going to be the next crisis, is when we find out that people have not paid enough into the system, and you've got white people and black people and Hispanic people not having enough in their Social Security. Okay, that is the next crisis. Okay, because there are a lot of people who don't realize that, and let me tie this to the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with the end in mind. Okay, that is one of the principles of that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you start with the end in mind, meaning that you're going to get old and die one day, and ladies, you're going to more than likely outlive your man. Do you have number one, were you married to that man? Okay, because if you weren't married to that man, you're not entitled his, um, to his retirement. But say if you were married to him, then you at least, if his money was higher than your, basically, if his amount was higher than yours, you're going to get his. Okay, but if you were not married to him, then you're not entitled to it. If you did not put his name on the children's birth certificates, that causes a problem, that you got to go running around trying to show proof that, hey, he was the father, so that you can get some of that funds and stuff like that. So all of those kinds of things will take effect. Okay, then you also have to think about, basically, can you live off of that amount? And if rent now, right now, like, is anywhere between $1,300 and $1,700 a month, if your check is only just that amount, like, how will you eat? Okay, you've got to be thinking about those kinds of things. And right now, a lot of people are just taking it for granted that Social Security will be here, and so they have not been doing, all this time that they've been quote unquote young, have not been focused on getting 401ks. They have not put anything into their 401k. If their company, some companies, nice companies, automatically say, hey, we are, unless you tell us otherwise, we're taking 3%, and they will put it in the 401k. That's nice for those who, quote unquote, forget to put things in their 401k or don't ever start it. That is now dangerous, to work and not know that you definitely do have to put things in 401ks. Okay, so when you're sitting at the table during orientation and they talk about the 401k and you bypass it because you're like, hey, I'll just live off the Social Security, please go check that website and see, could you actually live off of Social Security? Okay, now I do have to take a moment, or end this live, simply because I've got to go, but I just wanted to go ahead and get this out there, because nobody was going to say anything. Nobody was going to say anything to let the underserved know this is the time. You are living in the equivalent of the California gold rush, and you ain't looking for gold. So I look forward to talking with you more, and we're going to keep talking about this. Being poor is nothing to be ashamed of. Okay, it happens to all of us, and I have an acronym: people overcoming obstacles resiliently. That's what that means now. That we're going to empower that word. That's what I want to do with this channel, is empower that word. Okay. So it will either stand for, if you're an individual, you're a person who is overcoming obstacles resiliently, or if it's a group of people, we're going to say people overcoming obstacles resiliently. Okay, and we're going to take the power out, the negative power out of that word, and we're going to restore it with positive, because now it is something that we can do. We can get rid of that. That is a temporary state of being. Don't think that you're going to die poor just because you was born poor. Just because you're black, that does not mean that you're going to be poor. Okay, that is not synonymous with the word poor anymore. Okay, society did set that up, and we'll talk about that the next time I come on live again. We'll talk more about the whole piece of racism being tied into it. But I just wanted to go ahead and get this channel going, get my juices flowing. I know this was a horrible live, but hey, it's in the books now. Thank you.